Stephanie Andrews, and I teach English 1 and English 1 Pre-AP to 9th grade students at Belle Chasse High School in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. Overall, my students are very diverse, coming from different cultural, social, and economic backgrounds. Although I only have them for a semester, it's the learning that takes place and the memories that are made that are going to last my students a lifetime. My passion stems from getting to know each child as he or she walks in the door, and the learning that takes place and where students end at the end of the semester. I like to help students reach their potential, no matter what strength or weakness he or she has. It's those aha moments when students realize how to create a thesis statement or come up with textual evidence to support their ideas within an essay. I challenge my students each day with rigorous and relevant curriculum that corresponds to the Louisiana state standards. And yesterday, we sure did jump into some challenging curriculum. Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Now, many students thought, oh, he's outdated, he's too complex. But students need to look at the figurative language that he used and understand that vocabulary. Overall, my goal is to strengthen their knowledge. Students are going to use those context clues and apply those literary devices in every piece of literature that they read throughout their future. I want them to determine those big themes and make connections. So I placed them in groups yesterday. They basically completed a jigsaw activity. Students were assigned different topics. Some had to look at the theater, some looked at Shakespeare's background, and overall we developed a context for the play in general. We're going to begin today's lesson by reviewing those big ideas. And from there, we're going to look at the literary devices within his lines of Acts 1, 2, and 3. Students are then going to create some of their own literary devices at the very end of the lesson as they develop a new prologue to a play that they might create in the future. From there, we're going to complete an opinioneer. Students are going to give their ideas on what they believe about certain topics and themes. And they're going to see some of those big concepts within the play as we read. Finally, we're going to unpack the prologue to Romeo and Juliet. Students are going to look at those 14 short lines and determine what happens to the star-crossed lovers. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. All right, yesterday we started talking about Shakespeare. Now, while we have had several different poems that we've gone in the past, what are some big themes or topics that Shakespeare talks about?
Love.
Okay, love is one of them. Good. Death. All right. Tragedy.
Oh, heartbreak.
Yes. Misunderstandings. Heartbreaks. Sadness. Okay, so when we think about the tone being very sad, justice. Sacrifice. Okay, so all of those different big topics are going to be included in the play when we start to read. Yesterday we learned about some background information about Shakespeare. We did a little jigsaw activity. Give me 5 things that you learned about Shakespeare. I'm putting you on the spot. What do you got? Going over here.
He likes to write about violence.
Okay, good.
He died in 1616.
Died in 1616.
I was going to talk about one of the sports people.
Okay, what?
They used the pig's bladder
Yes.
as a football.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting, huh? But that was back in the 1600s, so things have come a long way. Yes.
He had his own group of actors called the Kingsmen.
Excellent.
He played in a theater called the Globe.
Good.
He was financially stable enough to attend the university.
Good.
He was one of the owners of the Globe Theater.
Great.
They burned down the globe by shooting a cannon.
Interesting.
We don't know the exact date of his birth because there's no records.
Very good.
The Globe was based off of like a bear fighting ring.
All right, and going along with that globe, what do we know about the time of performances?
Oh.
When did they happen?
They didn't, in like the early 1960s, 1600s, and they didn't have any girl actors.
No girl actors, so boys. What time of day were the performances done?
I want to say
Around noon. Why?
Lighting.
Because of the lighting, because they didn't have
They didn't have electricity.
electricity. Very good. Right, so they had to obviously perform in the middle of the day. Okay, good job on our reflection from yesterday. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna start taking a look at some of Shakespearean language, and we know that's complex. We're going to do a little warm-up activity.
Flushing the programs.
I don't think that makes sense by itself.
Personification.
So 4 is a metaphor.
Is it comparing the two?
No, I think it's saying.
Lips can't blush, like pilgrims.
Oh, that's what I don't think
It
that.
does make more sense like that, yeah.
And then number
I think it says
I don't
the gentle sin is this, my lips too blushing the pilgrims.
Okay, so it just doesn't. Yeah, so it just doesn't make sense by itself.
So it has like,
What do we agree on
I
again?
just said metaphor.
Yeah.
personification.
Gotcha.
Love goes to
Act 2. Juliet is the sun.
Yeah.
You know what feet is
Since love is a smoke,
my bounty
and like the few with eyes will be personification. Because it's like describing the love and smoke.
No, I thought
as sighing.
Yeah.
That's something people do.
Alright.
Personification because it's describing how it is a smoke and it's breaking. Yeah.
You're sighing.
Question number 2. Love is a smoke. We have personification over here, but they say metaphor. Why do you think it's a metaphor?
Because it's like comparing love to the smoke, and it's not using like our eyes.
Excellent. All right, so it is a metaphor. Good. We are making the comparison between the two. Who could tell me how love could possibly be like smoke? Raise your hand if you got the answer. Justice.
It can appear as quickly as it can disappear.
I like that. Addison.
It grows.
It rises. Brody. I like that. I like that. So, right, your clouded vision. Okay, yeah. And if you think about Shakespeare and creating his lines, making them very complex, making people think about what the true interpretation. All right, number 5. Juliet is the sun.
Metaphor.
Metaphor. Good. Number 6 is boundless as the sea. Good. 1,000 times good night. Yes. Like soft as music.
Well, they hate
Good.
someone so much that it forces them to get their hands dirty and feel in that certain way of like hatred, and they become like unnatural and uncivil. Like they go out and like seek violence against this person when usually they're just normal and calm and collected.
and they kill each other.
Yeah.
So what is the whole idea of unclean blood? They're tainted how?
They kill each other. They kill.
Because they're
They
infected
seek
by
violence.
their family, having
So right, once you've already done killed, you're obviously not.
parents
Literally, but metaphorically.
okay.
Yes.
How can you say
They're pretty serious. How can you put that into a sentence? How you could reword or explain? Civil blood makes civil hands. No war.
Violence makes crazy. Violence makes normal people crazy.
The love has.
Alright.
violence makes
Sophisticated people engaging in barbaric.
What about the
So right, so the whole idea of people turning, meaning you can't go back. Once you've already committed a crime, or once you've done something, there's no getting out of it. So we got this saying that it's gonna be there.
Wait, why were they fighting?
because they don't like each other.
So it's an ancient grudge, but we don't really know what that grudge started from. We just know that there's something about spots across. Alright, here we go. While I'm reading, I'm gonna go through the first time. What I want you to do is circle keywords that stand out to you. Alright, they could be words that reflect the big themes that are in Romeo and Juliet. They could be words that just catch your attention. They could be words that you don't understand and you want to develop a better understanding of. Alright. 2 households, both alike in dignity. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge, break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows do at their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. The which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. All right, right now, in your groups, I want you to go through these lines, talk about the key words that stand out, and figure out line by line what Shakespeare's language is. Question number 5. We've got an example of a literary device. Who can explain to me what it might be?
alliteration.
Alliteration, excellent. And where is that coming from? Good. So we've got the F, F, F. Why do you think Shakespeare purposely incorporated alliteration into this prologue?
There was 3 generations.
Like on
Hands if you think you know the answer. Yes, this is not on your paper. I'm throwing this at you. Why do you think alliteration is used purposely about the play?
Goes on and doesn't stop at one and keeps going.
Doesn't stop at one what?
There's a cycle.
There is a cycle in a
Yeah.
sense, actually. I kind of
all
like
the
that
cycles.
idea. A cycle of what? Do you know, Jed?
Water.
Blood. Hatred.
There is a cycle of blood. There's actually 6 different people who are killed, so yes, there's a cycle. What do you think, Justice?
I think he wanted you to notice that, hey, the children are kind of important.
All right, let's think about the idea of the children. Alliteration is used to do what? Yes, we have that repetition of consonant sounds. When you read alliteration, how do you read it? If I have a sentence that says, Brian buys big bubble gum. All right. Whereas if I say, Brian went to the store to buy some gum. What's the
Read it
difference?
fast. Read it fast.
Oh, you move fast. So what about the story itself?
The hatred moves fast.
The
About the
hatred?
kids.
What else goes fast?
Revenge.
The speed of what?
Like
Their life? Their love. Because they fall in love quickly, and then after that, then they end up dying within like a couple days.
that's crazy.
Right, because of the whole.
That's like the most saddest.
Yeah, it is. Well, we can't say most saddest. That's a.
It is.
Come on, Victoria.
It is
Yeah,
the
so actually
funniest thing in the
going
world.
to create your own prologue comparing or contrasting 2 different ideas or 2 different things. So, in this prologue right here, we compared 2 different households that Romeo and Juliet came from, right? You are going to compare any 2 things that you want, but you're still going to maintain and create a sonnet. So, you can compare 2 teachers, you can compare 2 restaurants, you can compare 2 cities, you can compare 2 cereals, you're comparing and contrasting
Even the
2.
average player can become a slayer. From forth the greatest Black Ops, whose battle outclass piteous competition, a pair of games played until the sun drops, do with their great campaign and elite missions. The greatness of their zombies is no facade, is now the 2 hours gameplay with co-op, and the continuance of the cycle of COD, which but a brand new game's quality could not drop. The which if you decide to take the chance to play, what here shall miss, you can still stay.
After reflecting on today's lesson, I realized that it would be more beneficial for me to shorten the amount of questions that I put on the opinioneer. That way students could maybe focus on 1 or 2 big ideas and give them more challenging, higher order thinking questions to discuss within their groups. I might also give them more time within the jigsaw activity to research a little bit more background information so they understand the time period that Shakespeare was growing up. Overall, though, the objectives were met. Students used context clues to decipher the vocabulary. They used textual evidence to answer questions and kind of support their ideas. They had great discussions. Overall, they presented their information clearly and they analyzed Shakespeare's choices in general. In the end, students used complex diction, they used rhyming words, they also looked up synonyms to be able to create their own prologues that they made, and basically they discovered that although Shakespeare is old and complex, he is a magnificent writer, and he inspired many people to not only write poems and plays, but we have a lot of movies today that Shakespeare helped create in a sense, because we have a lot of script writers who were inspired by him. All right, after that, my students in the next week or so, we're going to venture into Romeo and Juliet. We're going to read the play, and at the end, students are going to choose 1 script, or I should say they're going to choose an act from the play to recreate.